Everybody slay slay.
Hello and welcome to Everybody Slay Slay, the podcast where my friend and I band together and talk about gender studies. My name is Sam and I'm here with Leggie and Becky. This episode, we're covering gender in gaming and how different gaming communities treat people based on how others perceive their gender. I chose to do my research project on this topic because I am very involved in gaming and streaming communities and want to challenge the space that gender takes up in different games. I want to delve into why we, a group of non-binary and genderqueer people, get so excited to hear a feminine voice in our games. See, who is the first to react to a feminine or androgynous voice, and how do they react? In order to get data on how people's gender affects their experiences as a gamer, I created a survey and posted it online for people to complete.
So I think for a lot of Sam's research, we played a lot of Valorant together, and I don't know, how did you guys find it? How was the experience for you? Because I know we ran into that person who said they felt very safe in our lobby compared to like how they would feel in a lobby full of mask-voiced people. I think they had a lot of interesting points. Sam, do you maybe want to relay some of what they said?
Yeah, so when we play that game, first of all, we just spoke in our character select, and when they heard our voices, they immediately got so excited. And then I asked them later on in the game, and they were like, yeah, so more feminine voices are just a lot more comforting than any man's is, just because they later talked about association, men and sexist comments compared to more softer voices or more feminine voices.
And following up from their point, I believe we had some people on the opposing team who only like confirmed what they were saying with their like misogynistic comments, with their slurs, their sexist comments. Like it was a whole deal.
Yeah, for more context, Leg being the absolute trooper they are, posted in the all chat, "Are you guys men?" And to which they responded, "A whole man." And then that's what also prompted the other team to start making sexist comments. They started saying things like women are objects, started to belittle our team for quote-unquote doing bad even though we were perfectly matched. They're just basing all of their arguments based on the fact that we said that we weren't men.
Which we didn't even really say.
I think one of us mentioned it, but we didn't like explicitly say that all of us weren't men. Like it was, I think it was, they just saw, I forgot who it was that said something, but they just assumed that we were like all just not men based on our responses in the chat.
I think one thing about experiencing something like that is that it throws your mental like during the game as well. So you're like, oh my god, I have to like show that I'm better than them. Like I have to not adhere to the stereotypes of women being bad at video games or non-men being bad at video games. And I find myself doing like quite risky plays in Valorant just so I can like get that kill just to prove myself.
Yeah, I do that too a lot.
Yeah, I need revenge, you know?
It was also, you could tell that their mental's also affected by their perception of our gender, because once we started doing better than them, they started to get really quiet in the chat. They started to like just not say anything at all. And I found that like it was kind of funny.
It was a little bit funny. I personally find because I play on EU servers on Valorant a lot, as opposed to like American servers like you guys do. I find that certain servers like the ones in France, the ones in Germany, tend to have a lot more like sexist comments than the ones in like London or just like the other ones in London. And I think it has a lot to do with like upbringing and like how their society in different countries view women and non-men. Because I've had a lot of Polish players who I'm sure you've all seen the whole family values thing over there. They're basically trying to ban gay people and trans people. And I've found that they are more likely to attack me if I use my mic in a game. So I think like server diversity and like which server you play on can affect like
I think that can be said for the American servers as well. Like you're more likely to run
yeah,
into some people in Texas servers than you are in like any other server.
Yeah, California servers are a lot nicer in terms of not getting harassed. I'd say like it's still
Yeah.
not that great, but compared to like Texas or Georgia or Illinois servers, it
Yeah.
was it's a lot nicer.
yeah. One thing that I also find is that a lot of the sexist comments that I get also correlate with fat shaming and fat phobia as well. Because there's always comments about, oh, like you sound fat, which I'm not entirely sure how that works.
Yeah.
And I've had comments made to me before, like, oh, you're a woman, I bet you're like 250 pounds in a Discord mod. And to be honest, I can't argue with that point because I am. But that's that's not the point. It was still the intention of that comment.
Yeah,
And yeah.
the malicious intent.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like our experiences like playing the game reflects a lot of the answers that I saw in the survey.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Because like 30% of all the answers, like I asked the question of like from 1 to 10 rate how much you avoid using voice chat based on like a fear of being harassed. 75% responded that they're 6 or higher, and 30% of all the answers were a 10.
Oh
And
yeah, I don't
that
use
just
my mic
speaks
at all.
volumes. Yeah, I don't use my mic
Yeah.
unless like
Unless I'm
someone
queued with like
else.
you
Yeah.
or somebody else, then
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't use my mic at all.
Or if someone
Um,
with a more like feminine voice speaks first, I'm like, maybe I'll consider speaking later. And even then,
Shout
I'm
out to
like,
Freya.
sometimes I don't. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was our first actual positive experience in Valorant, I think.
Yeah.
We met this random person in in Valorant, like this was months ago, almost a year now, I think. And even then, like it just sticks out to us. Like we still remember them just because of how
Yeah.
nice they were and like how that differs from all our other experiences in the game.
I feel like the people that I meet in Valorant that have like feminine voices and like are non-men, I tend to like stick with more. Like I end up queuing with them again and like being friends. Like I've added a couple of them on Discord. And like we've ended up being friends, and I don't get that with like people with male voices or like male presenting people.
Yeah, I
There was
agree with
like
that.
super special circumstances, but
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, with the re-rollout of the pride cards for Valorant, I feel like um it's been a little different. I was playing a Swift play like 2 days ago or something like that, and I was on my ult and I had one of the pride cards on, and I was queued with side, and they also had the pride card on, and literally like there was a we were playing a Swift play. There was some random person, and they were like, "Hey, can I queue with you guys after that? I love your banners." And it was like a male, and we were like, "What?"
Huh.
Like the actual shock of like someone like, like a man
Yeah.
asking that. Crazy.
Yeah, you
I
just
think
Does
never
not happen
expect
very
it.
often.
I think the pride banners and stuff are such a good indicator of who is like a safe space in like the Valorant community as well. Because I feel like in general LGBT people are less likely to be toxic. In my experience
Yes.
anyway, because I think they understand like the struggle of like of being discriminated against for something that you can't control. Another point that I want to bring up is there's a lot of content creators in the Valorant community. And I feel like as content creators, they kind of have a responsibility to set an example for like the younger generation, if you will. Because the age of like TOS on Twitch is like 13 plus, but I know there's like children watching,
Yeah.
like Valorant players and stuff. And it's just like if these children are watching these men or like mask presenting people speak to women the way they do, like that's going to carry on with them. It's something that's going to be passed on to them. It's hard to explain. You know what I'm trying to say, but you know, children are impressionable. They'll copy what they see, and
They'll think
I think
it's okay.
yeah. And Sam and I have had experiences in game where we've had children just being awful to us.
Yeah, no,
There was a time.
there's this one game, sorry.
No,
We
it's
were
fine.
playing with the person we were talking about earlier. The one that like we kind of like half interviewed. Um Becky and I queued with them for another game, and in that game we were with younger people. I'd estimate like probably 13. And
Yeah.
one of them just kept on using slurs. Uh and their friend was a little bit more mature but not that much. And towards the
Mm-hmm.
end, uh I had muted uh the the one that was using slurs because I just didn't want to hear it. But from what I could understand from context from the rest of the voice chat, they were using like homophobic or transphobic slurs or comments, and they
Yeah.
started asking our new friend, like, can I ask you a question without you being offended? And just like
A horrible way to start off a question.
yeah. Which
Yeah.
first of all, I'm like, that doesn't
I'm
sound
ready to
great.
be offended immediately.
Yeah, and honestly, I think they handled it like the best they could. They responded something like, if it's about gender, uh it's probably going to be offensive either way. But I'm too used to it to be mad. And honestly, the
Yeah.
fact that they said that and we just understood what they meant, like how they felt, it was
Yeah.
it was just kind of like more eye-opening because you're like, this is not something that just we experience, but more people like us, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's just like, I was looking at the survey responses, and a lot of people were talking about how most of their bad experiences with gamings, like where they were met with slurs or sexist comments, most of it were coming from younger people. And you could also see this in the streaming communities, where like um, people have said that uh, more comforting games such as like Minecraft or Stardew Valley, people's like streamers chats there are so much nicer and more polite than any Valorant chat. Like you look into any like main like big Valorant streamer, their chat is horrendous. It's absolutely disgusting, the sexist comments there. Um and it's just a lot more lenient in uh moderating the sexism and homophobia in those communities compared to anything else. And so that's like what you're going back to what you're saying about streamers having a responsibility over into
How they
how
affect.
yeah, how they affect their audience and younger people. It's like you could
Yeah.
see the patterns.
I think another important point to make is we're all Twitch moderators, and there is so much fetishization that goes on with female or like non-male presenting streamers. One instance that springs to mind is a certain streamer that we've all previously modded for was playing a game once. I can't remember which game it was. I think it was Dead by Daylight. And somebody came into chat, was generally just like, they were okay at first. And then they made a comment about how this streamer would do better on Pornhub than on Twitch. And it's just like, you see comments like this all the time. You sort of become somewhat desensitized to it. Like, oh, that's just another like delete or ban or whatever.
Yeah.
But like when you really think about it, it's like the gravity of like what like younger generations are becoming, because it's usually younger people that are making these comments, but at the same time, like there's also people that are our age that are making comments, and it's a lot, you know?
Yeah. I'd say in actual gaming communities, the sexism is like mostly from younger people, like from the middle schoolers that somehow found
Yeah.
their way into M17 games. We can't really generalize this because we don't have an actual census of who plays what games.
I think younger children in games such as Valorant or GTA or like generally like violent games is such a big issue because those games are not created for children at the end of the day. Like, this is getting off topic, but it is also these children are being subjected to the misogyny and the sexism and just everything that happens in a Valorant chat. There's like a 9-year-old there that is listening to it and hearing that and being like, oh, that's how I should act because I play this game.
Yeah.
Yeah, that kind of tracks with also like another few of the survey responses. They were like, there was this one person. They were like, I've taken a media course, and my peers were talking about how they grew up thinking that it was okay to be sexist and homophobic because that's what they grew up uh around when they were playing like League of Legends. They're like, people were saying so much bad things that, and so often too, that they just accepted it as like, okay, that's how you act when you're here.
Yeah.
It's like how you tell different people different things. Like, you'd say something to your mother, but you act like completely different to your friends. And it's like,
Yeah.
sometimes like a younger person's like younger person acts in a game might not be how they actually act in real life. They might just be trying to fit in with the gaming community there.
Yeah, and that's a good point. I feel like the more you try and put on an act as well, you're more likely to become that person, depending on like how much you play games. And if you're spending more time putting on that act than being who you actually are, you're bound to become that person. Looking at like, I know cancel culture is like a big thing on Twitter. But I think things that are dug up from when people are like 13, 14, actual children, I think need to be taken with a pinch of salt because, again, like most of these people are were gamers back in the day, and they were being exposed to, these environments where sexism was okay, racism was okay, Islamophobia was okay, and
Like, you're genuinely super impressionable at that age.
yeah, and again, it's like trying to fit in. But I feel like that doesn't reflect who you really are because like a lot of people have grown up and have realized, hey, like this isn't okay. What I did was wrong. And I know a lot of content creators have come out and said, hey, my past actions don't reflect who I am now. And I think that's something that's important to note. But yeah.
Honestly, it's not even just content creators. Like, I can say with full confidence, I was a terrible person in high school.
Oh God, same. I think we all were.
Yeah, we all have had very bad pasts. We've said things that we shouldn't have said. And it's like, it's because that we grew up hearing those things around us. Like, my brother was a huge League of Legends player, and so things that he said in those games, I caught on to just because I like to hang out with him. And then I learned later on that those are like really bad things to say, and so I stopped saying them. It's just the environment that we're surrounded by
Yeah, exactly.
propels the experiences that we both like have ourselves and like the ones that we give to another person.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I think we're going off topic, but we're also like linking it back. So I think that just goes to show how many things are like linked to sexism. Like, it's not just sexism is one thing.
Yeah.
A lot of things can link back to sexism.
I mean, this is also that's a point that's very stressed in gender studies. We one of the main points that we cover in all the classes I've taken before is that everything is intersected. Racism,
Yeah.
sexism, homophobia, it all intersects together, and you can't just affect one thing without affecting another thing at the same time.
Intersectionality. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's a good point to make as well, because I get like, obviously because like I'm disabled, I have a condition called Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, so it affects my mobility in my hands, which, some days I have good days and bad days when it comes to gaming and like playing Valorant and stuff. So sometimes moving my mouse can be like difficult or painful. And sometimes I have disclosed that to my teammates, and they've been like, "Hey, like I have a condition. Sorry if I'm playing bad." And a lot of the times people have been like, "Yeah, it's okay, not a problem." And then sometimes it's like, "Oh, you're just playing bad because you're a woman." I was like, "Well, not quite."
So I had interviewed someone a few days ago to get an idea of what her personal experiences are, like have been in gaming, and she said that she's never really thought about how prevalent gender is in a gaming space. She never really thought about how her interactions can are actually affected by how people perceive her gender to be. One of the best examples I could think of from that interview is that I asked her how people responded to hearing her voice when she first talked on voice chat, and she said that she didn't really get many negative comments at first, and then later on in the interview she said that her voice is also deeper, and so people just assumed that maybe she was just a younger boy, and so they didn't really automatically assume that she was a girl. And so there was the
The illusion of her being masculine, I suppose. And they're like, "Oh, another masculine person. We don't need to be sexist to them."
yeah, like the plausible deniability, I'd say.
Yeah.
Of like they don't have actual proof. Like that she might be a girl, but they also don't know. Like her voice is like just deep enough that the other people on their team don't really know.
Yeah, I think I get that a lot as well. A lot of people have asked me, "Hey, you like a girl or a 12-year-old boy?" I'm just like, "That's up to you to decide." But there has been a time where I actually installed a voice changer mod, so that I could like communicate freely in certain games. And I found that like suddenly everybody treated me better, and it was like
Oh.
such a good experience.
That is that yeah. Gonna leave it at that. I mean, it's one of those truths that you're just like you don't want to admit it because you're just like
Yeah.
that's the reality, and sometimes I don't want to like think of it that way.
Sometimes you just want to pretend that the world is a better place than it actually is, you know?
Yeah. But like I guess that's the point of doing this entire thing, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, we're just opening our eyes and be like, this is the reality we're actually living in. We don't have to live this way.
Another thing that I'd like to mention is the streamer that I talked about earlier. I've noticed that as she progressively like climbed the ranks in Valorant, the less like sexism she would run into.
Oh, that's
So
true.
like
Yeah.
back when she was like gold or silver, like there was so much more sexism. But now that I think she's like diamond or plat or something, there's been a there's been a significant drop in the amount of sexist comments that I heard. So I think it's a case of in higher ranks, people just want to play the game. Like they don't really care who you are or like
Yeah, they
what your
just want
gender
to win their
is.
game.
Yeah, as long as you can play good, that's all that matters to them.
Yeah, this is
Um,
like because you have the lower ranks, iron, bronze, silver, and honestly, when you're in that rank, you usually don't really care that much. Like, sure, you put in
yeah,
some time, but like me personally, I'm still just an iron just because I don't really care about ranks. And it's just
that's
like
fair.
you can just see the difference between playing in iron and watching people play in higher elo lobbies. The way people act in these lobbies is so different.
Yeah. Well, there's almost no comms in lower elo lobbies. Like you will not hear people talk at all,
True.
That is a
basically.
good point.
Which I think half of it is attributed to like a lot. There are like non-mask people in lower elo lobbies who just do not, especially because I found that a lot of non-mask, like, people, Valorant is their first FPS.
Oh
So
yeah.
obviously they're not going to be like in a high elo to start with at all. They're not going to be like plat, diamond, like right off the bat. Normally they're going to start out in lower elo, which I think half attributes to like the lack of comms in those lower elo lobbies.
Yeah. And I think the reason that Valorant is a lot of non-men's first FPS game is the fact that the other FPS games such as CS:GO were known for having such a toxic community towards women that like so many non-men just didn't want to even touch those communities.
That's true. I
Like Valorant is definitely more forgiving.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
even
think so.
even then, it's still pretty bad.
It's still bad, but like it's not the worst, and that's basically what we have to settle for.
Yeah,
Yeah.
of the roughly like 90 survey responses, only one chose Valorant as like a game with a somewhat safe gaming community. Like that's just how bad it is.
I think what would you guys like to see certain games put in place in order to try and help break this streak of sexism, homophobia, racism, all that? What do you think the game needs?
The game, they
It's
just
hard
need
to
more.
say.
They just need more like moderation and
Yeah.
because
I feel like a lot of the time.
the current way they moderate the chat and like the voice chat is like you could report people mid game, but usually they don't get punished until hours after the game has happened. Or like the only time you
Yeah.
really get an instant punishment is if someone uses a slur. And it has to be slur written in a specific way that the game has like coded it to find. There's no
Yeah.
Yeah.
there's so many ways people avoid these because they like understand the filters that the game has, and so it
Yeah,
just
one
needs to
time I was
have
playing
a
a
more
game.
dynamic moderation system.
Yeah.
Yeah. People will like type letter by letter a slur into the chat and not get chat banned.
Yeah. I mean, we experienced that with our friend that we made as well.
Yeah, like literally in that game we didn't get notice that they were punished for doing that because they just wrote an entire slur in the chat letter by letter, and they didn't get punished until after the game.
Yeah.
Like they were still allowed to type and we had to deal with their comments the entire time. And I know there's like people's responses is also like I've played games in the past where my team would like call the other team out for being sexist, and then the other team would be like, well, why don't you just mute those words? And I'm like, muting words in the chat doesn't really do anything.
Yeah.
It just lets you live in ignorant bliss. It doesn't do anything else.
Exactly. And that's why I don't really like muting people when they're voice comming and they're saying these things, because part of me wants to hear what they're saying so I can, include what they're saying in my report. But
Exactly.
at the same time, the way Valorant handles reports is the majority of the time all they'll get is like an hour's ban from chat, or like sometimes like 30 minutes. And I feel like they take like hacking and cheating more seriously than these other issues, like again sexism, homophobia, racism. That's the only instance where you'll receive a punishment mid-game is if you're hacking, because they take that so seriously. You'll get your account banned like immediately.
Yeah,
But
and
they
it's
let
like
everything else
permanent
slide.
bans. Yeah, like
Yeah.
why is hacking more heavily punished
More
than
important
literal
than-
slurs, literal harassment?
Yeah,
Exactly.
like sometimes you'll like report someone and then the next day you'll log on and it's like a player you have reported has been penalized. And it'll say penalized. You'll know that they get banned because Valorant will tell you if they've been banned or not, but half the time it's just like, oh, they've been penalized, which means they're
And
not banned. They're still welcome on the platform. I mean, compared to other games, Valorant is definitely doing more. I mean, having like just definitely like agents wise, they're doing way more than a lot of other FPS games. But
oh yeah, for sure.
it's still not enough because like these sexist people play Jet, they play Reyna, they play the women characters, and then are extremely sexist. It's
That is
Yeah.
a good point.
and so like when they do that, I wanna point out to them, I'm like, you do realize that the character you're playing right now is a woman, right? Like I can attribute most of the strongest characters in Valorant are women because like most of the male characters, nah.
Yeah,
Other than Omen, my king, but
kind of going off of you just saying like trying to defend people from sexism. When I interviewed my informant, I'd asked her, I was like, so how often does someone stand up for you, either like team chat or in the like opposing chat? And she said, like, at that point, literally once the night before in the almost 2 years she was playing the game. And I was like, that honestly not surprising from what I've experienced.
Yep.
This also ties into one of the survey responses where this person had written, as a cis man, they tried to defend a more feminine presenting person on their team, and he ended up getting attacked for it by the other people on their team. You get attacked for trying to stand up for someone.
I think one thing as well is if somebody who is a cis male tries to defend, a non-man or somebody with like a feminine voice, they'll get accused of having ulterior motives, like wanting to date them or like just being a simp, or, it's never because of their own free will that they want to do this. It's always, oh, like this man is defending a woman, must be in love with her,
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
automatically just goes straight into romantic or sexual like implications. Like, no, what if
Yeah.
they just want to be a decent human being? What if they
Exactly.
don't want another person to feel harassed in the game that they want to play? This also, the sexual and like romantic, I don't know, associations, I guess, in a gaming community. It's not even just in Valorant. Even like chill games like Minecraft gets it. People I talked to, they were like, yeah, I've gotten really weird comments and like sexual comments directed towards me just because my skin represented a girl. And this happens in public lobbies such as Hypixel. Or someone also said that when they were playing on MCC Island, which is another public server, they had a more feminine skin, and constantly got bashed by other people in the server for being bad at the game they were playing.
In general, I think a lot more things could be put in place in order to help combat this. Like, stop waiting like hours to penalize somebody who has been making these comments, or like there's so many things you could do about it, and yet there's not really many companies that are willing to do that.
Yeah.
Companies like to hide behind the loudest demographic that they have, and
Yeah.
because
They want to like say I'm against it, but they also don't want to say that they're for it. They just want to sit in the middle and be safe.
they do just enough, but also they don't ensure actual safety.
Exactly.
They want to keep their clientele, they want to keep the people in the community, they want to keep just making money, even if it's at the cost of women or just non-men in the community.
Yeah, and I think this can also be linked back to companies' stances on LGBT as well, because I've noticed that this month, there's been a lot of like homophobia, transphobia, all that. I've noticed a lot of companies haven't changed their logo to like the rainbow logos that they usually do. And somebody on Twitter made a great point about it not being like profitable this year because of just everything that's gone on.
I literally saw a tweet about this earlier today. It was about the official Xbox Twitter account where they had changed their profile picture from their Pride to promote their game Diablo 4. Like,
yeah. And we're only like 4 days into Pride Month, and a lot of companies have been doing this as well. I saw that NBA did this as well.
Yeah, this is like, we kind of got off topic there, but like it's just a pattern you see everywhere now.
Yeah.
I say now as if you just can't see it everywhere already. On that note, I think we've pretty much covered all that we wanted to talk about today. We've talked about how the majority of people who are not cis men don't feel comfortable using in-game communication because they're scared of being harassed. We've also covered how the majority of sexist and homophobic comments came from younger people because of the environment they grew up in, the gaming communities that already have so much discrimination rooted in its foundations, that they grow up thinking that saying those types of things, saying those jokes are okay. This also ties into how gaming communities also have an effect on gaming and on how gender is perceived in these communities because of the younger audiences that watch these streamers and the behavior that is observed in each Twitch chat, YouTube chat, or even any other online space related to the community.
People's experiences in games vary based on their gender and their gender expression.
Yeah. More masculine presenting people experience more neutral comments in either voice chat or text chat, while more feminine presenting people experience a lot more threats, sexism, homophobia, fetishizing comments, and even slurs. This isn't limited to just shooter games such as Valorant. This also applies to literally every other gaming community out there. This also applies to games like Minecraft, where there's only a text chat, where people have experienced homophobia, sexism, other harassment just for how their Minecraft skin looks like. The problem of gender in gaming lies in the roots of all these communities, of all the games created, the people who play in it, and the companies who try to earn money at the expense of their community. This has been a problem that's been prevalent in the community for decades now that cannot be solved in one quick update. So that is all for today. Thank you for joining us, and remember to slay the day away.
Everybody slay, slay. Everybody slay, slay. Everybody slay, slay. Slay, 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 slay. Everybody slay, slay. Slay, 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 slay. Everybody slay, slay. Slay, 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 slay. Slay, 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 slay. Slay, 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 slay. Everybody slay, slay.